This is Doc Rotten from Horror News Radio and Gruesome Magazine. Joining me tonight is Paul Cardullo with another Groovy Gory Gruesome Gold edition. Paul, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, Doc?
Doing good. Now, you have a very interesting film for us this week. What is the name of it?
It is Effects from 1980.
Now, is it 1980?
Well, that's a good question. So it was, I guess they shot it in 78. It's got a 1980 date on it. I do know they showed it a little bit, but it really didn't get an official release until 2006 when it came out on DVD.
2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long wait for a release.
A bit of it.
This is from director Dusty Nelson, and it features Joseph Pilato, which people would recognize from Day of the Dead.
Yep, choke on him.
Oh yes, and another cast member that people would recognize from the Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead is the one and only who?
Tom Savini.
Yes. So tell me about all that.
Okay. Well, there's actually a couple other connections to Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and Romero. The producers, Dusty Nelson, Pasquale Bubba, and John Harrison. John Harrison's also in it. All worked with Romero at the TV station and on Martin. And John Harrison went on to actually be the second unit director and composer on Creepshow and Day of the Dead as well. So, but to the film itself. So you've got Dom, played by John Pilato, who's a cameraman, effects artist on this really low budget cheesy horror film. He's got his gaffer, which is the lighting person, is this part-time actress, Celeste, plays by Susan Chapek. Tom Savini, as you mentioned, plays Nikki, whose role in the production is a little questionable. And then you've got John Harrison playing Lacey Bickle, the director, who is skeevy is the best word for him. He's just this really creepy kind of character. And unbeknownst to some of the crew, some of the cast and crew know this, but some of them don't. He's got a second project going on. They're also filming another movie called Duped, the snuff movie. And as the title implies, he's planning on going for realism there. Like, who needs effects when you could have real blood and real killings? The real question is, who in the film knows what's going on and who's an unwitting subject of the film?
So how does this film play out? What do you think of it?
Oh, it was a real surprise. I was expecting with a film called Effects, with effects by Tom Savini and all these connections to Romero, to be this, just gore-laden thing. Instead, the effects are actually not that bloody. They're more restrained. They work well, but they're restrained. It's really more about the film. The film itself is about deception. Has very meta-contextual. In fact, think about it. Special effects, right? You're showing the audience something, but they think it's something else. And that's the same thing that's going on here. Characters think one thing's going on while something else is going on. So it's all about deception. Even the name of the movie that the snuff movie they're filming is called Duped, the snuff movie. So it's got that whole kind of multi-layer to it. Even at one point, they're watching a snuff film, and when the film came out, some people thought that it was a real snuff film that had been included. So this whole multi-level thing is really kind of neat, and is I think what gives it some power.
So yeah, well, Tom Savini's in there, and you mentioned the special effects, and you said that they were restrained. Do we get any Tom Savini, signatures, the throat slashings, the head smashings, gunshots, and stuff like that?
It's more slashings. There's this really kind of neat scene where they have a close-up of a foot, and they slice it with a razor, and then they kind of pull back, and it's a dummy foot, and they're talking about, well, can you give me more spurting here, and can you do this? So they're like talking the details there. It's really more. Probably the best effects are when they're watching the snuff film, because they take it as real, and it's so grainy that it's covered. So it's not, like I said, it's not very gory in that sense. It's more restrained, but it works wonderfully. And speaking of the grain, that's actually kind of a neat thing. So there's a new release by America's Genre Film Archive, AGFA. It's a 4K Blu Ray 4K restoration, but that's a 4K restoration of the only surviving 35mm print of a 16mm film. This film was shot on 16mm. So it's grainy, it's got scratches, some of the shots are out of focus, but you can see everything. All the shots are clear. But it's great because it makes you feel like you're watching this sketchy, low-budget horror movie that could be a snuff film. So you have this kind of, again, you have that kind of meta level where the the form of the film matches what's going on.
Exciting. So what is your score and a favorite scene?
Well, I'm going to give this, my favorite scene is when the crew is actually watching the snuff film. So they're all coked up. They're all doing coke. And Lacey goes, I want to show you this movie I got in England. And he starts showing it to them, and they think it's like a stag film. And then all of a sudden it dawns on them that they're watching a snuff film. And this one character, the only other thing they say, he's just like, this is not what I thought this was. And then they're just dead silence as you hear the projector running. And you see a little bit of the film, you see the projector running. So it's just this really powerful sequence, and it leads into a conversation amongst basically dealing with this whole theme of what's real and what's not effects. And I give it a good solid 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this film. It was really surprising. It was not what I was expecting, and in a good way. And it's really worth seeking out.
Ooh, 4 out of 5. I wasn't expecting that.
Neither was I. I was thinking, this is going to be cheap little, and I was like, man, this is like really good. I mean, it's scratchy. It looks like you're watching a 16 millimeter film, but again, that fits so well. It's such the form fits the function of that. So it's just, I love it.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Paul, for another Groovy Gory Gruesome Gold.
Good night.
Be sure to visit GruesomeMagazine.com to listen to the other gruesome podcasts, Hard News Radio, and Decades of Horror. Also check out the Gruesome Magazine Quarterly, available in digital and print-on-demand format. Gruesome.